near side. McComas trying to make a run from that right back spot. McComas has kind of locked down that right back spot the last couple matches. And now Meto tries to clear a defender, can't do so. Throw near side for Georgia Southern. As Marshall takes it and plays it all the way back to the keeper, Alexis Wolgemuth. Wolgemuth, third all-time in Marshall history now with shutouts, as he trails just Lizzie Kish and Liz Orton. Marshall plays it up the far side, looking for Fisher once again. And Wilkins, I think, is just going to shield Fisher, and she will. And it'll be a goal kick for Georgia Southern.
Bobby, the way we kind of suspect this game to go, kind of expect Marshall to maybe control possession and Georgia Southern to apply high pressure and look for, counterattacks. And we've seen the possession part so far for Marshall and not seen Georgia Southern really bring its pressure out just yet.
Kamori right in the middle for Marshall. She just got her first goal for Marshall recently. And instead, Georgia Southern plays it all the way back. Yeah, Chris Adams said, look, Marshall and Coastal Carolina play very similarly. As Meto has it near the top of the 18 now. Meto sprinting into the 18 and deflected away along the back line. Good play by Libby Wolfenden that time. The 5'7" freshman comes in and just pokes it away with the outside of the right foot. And it creates a corner for Marshall. Meto, just an individual run. That was actually the left foot Wolfenden got on it and sends it out. But Marshall creates a corner kick for itself early in the match, as we're just about 4.5 minutes in, and the Herd an opportunity here with Leah Mish setting it up in the corner. Left hand goes up and down from Mish. They'll send a low liner in there and trying to get a foot on it and clearing a couple houses was, I believe, that was Angel Fowler, as she got a good foot on it, just not accurate.
I cleared the green building on the fly right behind that and hit the house behind it, which is across an alley.
Everybody wake up. So Wilson will take thought she was going to take the goal kick. She will concede it off to one of her teammates. This is one of the freshmen. Well, nope, now she will take it. Sends it up ahead. And one thing, maybe my communication is not good. Apparently, I can't figure out who's going to take the goal kick. Ball played out near side. It's a throw for Marshall. But Chris Adams said that he's got a rotated keepers throughout the year. He's had Oakley in for some, Katie Oakley and Quinn Wilson. But he said with Quinn Wilson, she's really good with communication along that back line. He said that's what this team needs right now. And then he said her communication is really what's winning her the starting job ahead of Katie Oakley. Katie Oakley was second team All Sun Belt Conference 2 seasons ago.
I was going to say, you basically have 2 starting caliber goalkeepers for Georgia Southern. One started 2 years ago, was out last year due to injury. Last year starter, back this year as well. So you've got 2 with a lot of experience.
Marshall on the counterattack, tries to play it through to Lecky. She was right there, but a good job by the defender that time for Georgia Southern to really slow down that Marshall effort. Marshall's finding some space early.
Kamuri and Lucky both had the right idea there. They were on the same page, but good defending to keep the through pass from making it through cleanly.
This is a Marshall team 3-0-1 at home this season. Of course, just about a week and a half ago, fell 6-1 to Texas State and then rebounded last weekend, and perhaps one of the more impressive rebounds you could see to pick up the 3-0 win over Troy. One of the more productive offensive efforts for Marshall in nearly 2 years.
And I feel like watching here right now, you're seeing Marshall sort of maybe play with some confidence built from the second half, especially of that match against Troy. The offense for Marshall really came to life, kind of an offensive outburst for the Thundering Herd there in the second half of that Troy match, and really does feel like Marshall's playing with a much more confidence early on here today.
Ball played up ahead to Lecky. Lecky controls with the right foot, cuts inside on that right foot, leaves it off now for Fisher. Fisher top of the 18, right foot strike, bouncing ball into the hands of Wilson. Marshall getting the opportunities early. That's 3 shots now, 2 on goal for the Herd. Take a look at that one again. And Fisher just sends a low bouncer. Just, it's not a terrible idea. You see exactly what can happen as the ball plays off of somebody or bounces off deflections. Regardless, as Marshall continues to possess, but those deflections can be as advantageous as anything else at times.
Like I said, play with your head on a swivel, expect anything. Ball can be at your feet at any moment.
Isaac Ekstrom along the back now for Marshall, plays it up ahead for Mezzo. Mezzo has played really well in the couple of games that she's been able to play. This is our 5th game of the year for Marshall now, as she loses possession and will be controlled by Georgia Southern near side. Smith Cathy, preseason All Sun Belt Conference, as she has it taken away from her near side as Marshall plays it out, and it'll be a throw now for Georgia Southern. Smith Cathy, 16 games started last year, had a goal against the Herd. She had 7 goals on the year. She's tied for 5th in the Sun Belt last year, 4 goals already this year, in just 11 matches. This is a Georgia Southern team that also had Bree Conley, preseason preseason All Sun Belt, but she's been slowed by injury the last couple matches. He's only got 1 tally so far this year. Ball played into the box and cleared away. Now McComas on a run near side. McComas a little bit too heavy of a touch and taken away by Olivia Golden. Olivia Golden, the freshman from Georgia, has started all 12, make it 13 matches now for Georgia Southern. Meto trying to just get possession, and she will keep it.
She was going to get that ball to Leah Mish one way or another, regardless of where the defense was. She made up her mind.
Something important to keep an eye out for today is we're just about 10 minutes into the contest. This is a Georgia Southern team that has really struggled in 1-goal matches this year. 0-7. All 4 of Georgia Southern's wins have come by shutout. Last 2 times these teams have played have been Georgia Southern victories. 2-0 2 years ago here in Huntington, and then 4-1 last year. Georgia Southern 4 first-half goals in that one. Ball played up ahead to Meto and rolls across the near side, and it'll be a Georgia Southern throw, Prior to 2002, the last time these 2 teams played was 2007. Kind of found that hard to believe. These are 2 programs just in general, just athletic departments that obviously shared the Southern Conference for so long that it kind of made sense for these teams to play for so long.
And sometimes when the conferences get shaken up, you still have relationships with certain schools. Marshall and Georgia Southern have always had a bit of a relationship across multiple sports athletic departments as a whole. Same with Marshall and Appalachian State. So this is, in a lot of ways, this feels right. Marshall, Georgia Southern.
Yeah, you look at Marshall, East Tennessee State, Marshall and Chattanooga have maintained relationships throughout the years as well. Just all the teams that Marshall, we'll call it 20 years ago now, used to play quite a bit.
30.
Pugh on the attack. 30 years ago. Yeah, you're right. Ball played across the inline. Would be a corner now as Georgia Southern creating an opportunity. Yeah, that'll humble you a little bit. 30 years ago. 20 years ago would have still been, that would have been Conference USA at that point.
At the very beginnings of Conference USA.
Yeah, that'll humble you quite a bit. Yeah, 30. Wow. Oh, man. Far side, Aaron Wilkins will take the corner. She had 6 assists last year for Georgia Southern. She should be very solid on a set piece. Ball sent into the box, high in the air. Wolgemuth off the line. Just grabs it right around the top of the 6-yard box. And Marshall will turn away the Georgia State effort. Or Georgia Southern effort. I keep saying state. Apologies to all the Eagle fans out there. Talking with Chris Adams, he said, we're kind of susceptible right now to the counterattacks. Our mistakes have hurt. And when we make mistakes, the counterattacks have been our recipe for failure. Graduated 5 starters, as I said, that played last year. So we're still kind of finding our footing. We've dealt with some injuries on that front line. And they're just kind of trying to figure out what kind of team they're going to be this season. Ball played in the middle for Ami Kamori, and it'll be played right back to Pugh, far side, but not quite in an advantageous spot. And she's going to turn on a defender, though. Fisher comes back to help defensively. It'll be played out far side, across the far touchline. Creates a throw now for Georgia Southern. Ball thrown in for Borgelt, and Marshall will take it right back. The Herd, if it can, head Meto with all kinds of room near side. Just not able to get it to her feet. Georgia Southern really playing high, as you kind of mentioned, Ryan, pushing everybody forward, and the Herd takes it back. Meto, strong ball handling, keeps possession around 2 defenders.
She brings something that this squad desperately needed. You can definitely see a difference in this Marshall team. Ability to possess up toward the front, ability to kind of handle under pressure once Meto was gain her eligibility with the squad.
Meto transferred in from Faulkner, the 5'5" junior from Cameroon. They had a social media video recently that basically said it was a who would survive type question. If I remember correctly, I believe it was a zombie apocalypse or something to that sort. And multiple players said Elodie Meto would not survive because she was still figuring out where to go around Huntington.
There are some people who still need the GPS, and that's fine. But, you know, you look at the makeup of these 2 squads, too. Georgia Southern, out of the starting 11, 1 player from England, rest are Americans, 6 players from the state of Georgia in the starting 11. Marshall has 8 countries represented in the starting 11.
Ball tried to be played towards the middle, and Kamori had stopped her run before Lecky sent the pass forward. So Marshall turns possession back over to Georgia Southern. Meto steps in and knocks it away right to the feet of Leah Mish. This is a Marshall team that starts 2 freshmen with Mish and McComas, 8 juniors, and then the 1 senior in Lecky. Although Marshall, you notice Lecky not participating today in senior day, thinks maybe another year of eligibility might come for Ebony Lecky. Far side, Bailey Fisher, by far the Marshall leader offensively. Fisher on a long run and great defense from behind that time, sending it out along the end line as it'll create a corner for Marshall on the far side.
Fisher had a goal and 2 assists. She was all over that Troy match a week ago, and she's someone, like you said, she's the biggest offensive threat, not just as a goal scorer, she's also a creator.
This is a Marshall team that relies heavily on the presence of Bailey Fisher. She's got 25 shots on the year to Marshall's 86 total as a team, 44 on goal for Marshall. 16 shots on goal have come from Fisher. Corner kick, Mish sends it in, punched out of the air by Wilson. Good job by her, as it'll be run down in the corner by Pugh. Pugh tries to play it up ahead, but Marshall cancels that clearance. Travassos tried to nutmeg a defender, couldn't quite do so. And now Marshall will start it over. Rafa Samoys that time looks at Luisa Travassos and says, hey, let's play it back, play it back. She tried the nutmeg, and I think Rafa wanted her to play it on the negative, just really start up that Marshall offense again.
You talk about Marshall, too, something we have not mentioned yet today. Maria Chavez, normal starter on that back line. Recently, as in this past week, played for the Portugal under-20 national team. They picked up a victory with her on the pitch. So she is not with the team right this moment.
A really nice honor for Chavez at that point to be able to go represent her country.
How cool is that? I mean,
I think
kind of in the middle of the season, too.
I don't think you can truly understand probably the pride you have until you're in that moment. Like, yeah, we can sit here and talk about it, but that's a moment that I think she probably didn't necessarily understand until she got there in that moment you put on that kit. Ball tries to be cleared by McComas, keeps it right at her feet. Good defense by Brooklyn McComas, continuing really a strong last couple weeks for Brooklyn McComas. Started early on and has really played well in the last few matches.
She had a goal at Texas State that really seemed to, again, I can't say it enough, confidence ups the level of play. And sometimes when things go bad, it can be easy to kind of slump your shoulders a little bit. But McComas got that goal, and I really feel like she's been right in the middle of everything the past 2 matches now.
Marshall wants to carry that confidence on, but so does Georgia Southern. Both sides looking to get into that confident momentum piece. Ball played up ahead past the back line as Lecky was making a run just a little bit too far as it bounces into the hands of Wilson. After today, Georgia Southern will take on Old Dominion on Thursday. Marshall will go to Southern Miss. So both of these teams with pretty tough matchups. Marshall's got to go down to Mississippi. Georgia Southern has to go to ODU. It's an ODU side that's always so strong on the women's soccer ranks in the Sun Belt. Marshall turns away the pass up ahead, and now Georgia Southern turns it over. Leah Mish trying to get around a defender, and will get around 2, as a matter of fact. Marshall doesn't like what it sees, though. Now we'll start it over. Right back to the feet of Mish. Meto down the near side and turned away by Olivia Golden. Now Golden, individual run coming up from that back line. Golden continuing to come, and McComas just steps in and sends it out near side. Good defense by Brooklyn McComas. It'll be a throw near side for the Eagles. Ball sent in, popped into the air. Now Madison Towns brings it out of the air, and the Herd will possess. Marshall's done a pretty good job of just keeping possession early in this one. Chris Adams thought his team may have a little bit more athletic ability, thought may be able to do some similar things to what Texas State was able to do against Marshall. Thus far, it's been relatively statistically controlled by Marshall. 3 shots, 2 on goal. The Eagles yet to register a shot. Marshall turns it over. Borgelt, top of the 18, plays it into the box, flicked on. Now Georgia State still with it. Borgelt will run it down. Georgia Southern dangerous right now in an opportunity. Wilkins all the way back, and Southern's just gonna try and find an opening in this Marshall D. Ball played in, headed away by Ekstrom. Right to the feet of a Marshall player, and now back to Leah Mish. Georgia Southern definitely, you can see, playing higher all of a sudden, putting some more passes together in succession, creating some issues for Marshall right this second. Stepping in front of Lecky was Crenshaw. Crenshaw cut a shove to the back from Leah Mish, and that'll draw our first foul of the match. 20 minutes into the match. Now we get our first whistle. Not usual at any level, really.
No, this has been a very competitive, but not necessarily, I guess you could say the 50-50 balls have been won outright so far to this point.
Take a look at it again. Crenshaw took it away from Mish, and Mish, I think perhaps to not let her have the advantage, just grabbed the waist a little bit. Ball played in, bouncing ball, cleared away by Mish. Now the Herd will clear it. Elodie Meto, it's 1-on-5. She clears a defender, though, and now is going to keep going down the near side. Tries to just keep possession, and it rolls out, and it'll be a Georgia Southern throw. Or, excuse me, a Marshall throw. Now our center official will come to the near side to have a conversation with, and they're going to change the call. It'll be overturned to a Georgia Southern throw. I think that was the right call to begin with.
Yeah, Meto was trying to work in heavy traffic, and a little bit too heavy of a touch toward the sideline. Definitely, she was the last one to touch it.
Golden will take the throw. Well beyond the attacker, Smith-Cathy. As in the air, colliding into one another was Meto and Golden. Foul gets called on Meto as you take a look at it again. And just Meto kind of jumping backwards that time, ran right in to defender Golden, which creates the foul on the Thundering Herd. So we went 20 minutes, and that's 2 in the last 60 seconds. Free kick now for Claire Casey, the freshman from Williamston, Michigan. And she'll just switch fields, real easy. Switch to the field. So beyond Casey being a very good soccer player, obviously coming on to play at the Division I ranks, she was also honorable mention All-State in basketball as well. Ball crossed in. Wolgemuth right there inside the 6 to collect. Marshall trying to go quickly. Man on Meto. Good communication from Marshall as Thundering Herd able to communicate that right into the middle. And you can definitely tell all of a sudden Georgia Southern playing much higher, really eliminating those passes in the back for Marshall.
If you want to compare it to basketball, the full court pressure is on now. This is all out defensive effort now from Georgia Southern. Certainly press forward. Marshall have to keep its composure, trying to matriculate down the field.
Towns far side is now Georgia Southern will drop back, which is about what you'd expect. Marshall with 3 players right at the midfield stripe. Hurd tries to play it up the far side and nobody home as Aaron Wilkins will run it down. The junior from Tacoma, Washington. Nearly 40 career starts for Aaron Wilkins, as we talked about. 6 assists last year. She already has 5 this season, too. Madison Towns will take the throw for Marshall. Sends it into Lecky in the corner. Lecky is trying to keep possession. Now Marshall plays it into the box. Meto, nobody home as they actually went off of a head of a Georgia Southern player. Georgia Southern tries to clear. Meto a shove in the back that time of Claire Casey. Or nope, excuse me, that was Olivia Golden she got. Be a foul on Meto.
Casey mishit it. It led to...
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, the 19 and 18 throws you off just a touch. High in the air, bouncing ball, trying to be won out of the air by Kathy. And she will. Great job by her to play it back in. Now back to her feet. And Kaisa Ekstrom has to retreat and win it back for Marshall. There's lots of pinball action right now between the two teams. Georgia Southern nearly creating an opportunity for itself. But instead, Marshall turns it away. Now it's Georgia Southern still trying to create just a little bit of disorganization from both sides right now, it seems.
It felt early on like Marshall had, good possession, good quality attacks, couple of opportunities at goal. Georgia Southern has gone through a stint where it had possession, but really has not had a solid attack put together just yet. And the last few moments have just been, just a lot of back and forth.
Ball played towards the corner. Brooklyn McComas. Again, Brooklyn McComas does such a good job of body positioning. It's one thing I've noticed, just kind of to shield herself from a defender, shield herself from an attacker, just to get in front of another player. That's what's allowed her to be successful at times during her her freshman year, rookie year, same thing. Travasos on a run far side. She's got Towns with her and just kind of a mistouch by Travasos far side. And it'll be a throw for Georgia Southern. This is a Georgia Southern program. Back in 2022, we mentioned the success that Chris Adams has had at the helm, but in 2022, this team had allowed just 12 goals all season, a .71 goals against average for an entire year. Just an incredible run that season. And then, of course, last year, finished the season before the Sun Belt Conference tournament on a 7-match win streak, its longest since 2000.
And for perspective, Katie Oakley, who is right now the #2 goalkeeper, at least for today, was the starter in goal on that team 2 years ago. Allowed, you mentioned, less than a goal per match. Second team all Sun Belt Conference.
Yeah, she had 7 shutouts that year. Just an impressive run for Georgia Southern. She's tied for second in Georgia State history with shutouts. But today, Quinn Wilson gets the starting goal for the Eagles. So Marshall does. If you're unfamiliar with Marshall soccer, we've talked about it quite a bit. Marshall will play from the back primarily. It wants to have possession. It wants to create opportunities within its possession. It's going to force you to try and come to it, and that's what Georgia Southern just did. Ball played up ahead. Couple touches, and Fowler trying to get there. Towns attempting to clear, and will. As you can see, Wilkins also, similar to what Marshall likes to do, Wilkins making a run up from that right back spot as well. as they will stop the clock for a hydration break. Both teams will come to the near side to do so. And we're going to step aside for a break. 18:02 left to go in the first half of play. Georgia Southern and Marshall still scoreless. You're watching Sunbelt Women's Soccer on ESPN+. So the scoreboard's not working.
Who says that business isn't personal? That what we do should be separate from who we are? At Encova Insurance, we do things differently. Our agents partner with small businesses to get to the heart of what matters. Because we're in the peace of mind business, and we take that very personally with auto, home, and business insurance. At Encova, we're ready for what's next.
Scoreless between Marshall and Georgia Southern. 18:02 to go in the first half of play. Hydration break. It is about right in the low 80s today here in Huntington. An absolutely gorgeous day. As I look around, no clouds in the sky. You take a look at the hydration break rules. Basically, you can look at kind of just keeping players hydrated throughout the course of a match. We're right at that 25 to 30 minute mark of the first half as well. So you'll see another one come up in the second 45. But early in this match, Ryan, these two teams, Marshall kind of established its presence in about the first 10 minutes, and about the last 15, it's been a little bit of both teams going back and forth.
Yeah, it's been a tight match too. Marshall probably had the best opportunities thus far. You already had Quinn Wilson having to make a sprawling save off of a shot from Bailey Fisher early on. Georgia Southern was able to kind of calm things down and control possession for much of the middle portion of this first half to this point. And right now, Georgia Southern maybe has a little bit of an advantage on the possession in our current time, but again, the Marshall defense has been up to the task thus far and has really not allowed any clean looks for Georgia Southern. The Eagles yet to attempt a shot.
Get a good look at the Marshall coaching staff there. Now we get back into the run of play. Marshall, actually does lead the conference right now in attendance. One of the top attendance teams within the men's side as well. Of course, South Carolina just tremendous on the men's side in terms of the attendance that it can garner week in and week out. But over 2,000 people here on Friday for a top 10 men's match between number 10 James Madison, number 5 Marshall. And you continue to see the fans turn out today. As it also, we mentioned it last week, some children on the field from some local soccer teams as well in the pregame.
And both teams here today taking part in that as well. Having the children stand with them during the starting lineups and anthem. It's really been interesting to watch this sport grow in this area, and it really started with Marshall men's soccer, and it started basically with a run in 2019 conference championship. Finish that thought in a moment.
Kamori to Lecky. Lecky, great defense coming back to the play that time by Smith Cathy. Marshall keeping possession though right now.
The men won the conference championship in 2019, won a first round NCAA tournament match, made it to the Sweet 16 for the first time. That really drew some interest in this region, caught people's attention because, as with any small town with the university in it, is successful in anything, the town will learn what it's about and how it's doing. The next year was COVID, but in the spring of 2021, the 2020 men's season, Marshall made the run and won the national championship. And I mean, it's just really, this sport has taken off in this area, and it goes back to the men's side. And while the women are still trying to get their footing in terms of success, the interest has risen greatly over the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, if you're unfamiliar with the area, some pretty significant tournaments happen in Barbersville, West Virginia, which is about 15, 20 minutes from here. significant tournament happens in Dunbar, West Virginia, which is about 40 minutes from this location. Just the amount of high-level tournaments and people getting exposed to the Mountain State is really ratcheting up probably in about the last 10 years, where you see, obviously, this complex as well is able to host matches for tournaments like that too. And it's just a real big boost economically, but I think athletically, you see the familiarity with Marshall when the Marshall soccer program really develop as well.
Yeah, and beyond that, I don't think that the programs have yet seen what they will see from that, because those kids are still too young at this point. For the most part, it's still too fresh. But the West Virginia teams in those tournaments are faring much better right now than they were when they first came to this area. So you are seeing the quality grow as well.
Ami Kamori right across the midfield stripe, has it poked away back to the feet of Georgia Southern. As now the Eagles try and possess, play it up ahead, and Ekstrom with the head. Foul's called by the far side official. Flag went up. Excuse me, that was an offside call on Georgia Southern. But also, I think, you referenced seeing kind of the everything pan out. There's a football player from Marshall a couple years ago, Justin Rohrwasser, who had been a young soccer player who remembered playing in Huntington, he was a young soccer player, excuse me. He played football at Marshall, but was a young soccer player from up in the northeastern part of the United States, but played, I believe, for 2 years at New Hampshire, played football, and then decided he wanted to come because he had seen while playing soccer what this area did to support his athletics teams and said, hey, I want to go be part of that. Far side now, Marshall to Madison Towns. Marshall finding some green grass again all of a sudden. Towns outside the 18, crosses it in, and couldn't quite put the cross in front of the net as it clears the net, goes behind the goal, and it'll be a goal kick now for Georgia Southern. Take another look. Towns got the cross, no deflection there, just didn't quite get the English on it she wanted to put it in front of the net. Amelia Compton will come on for Marshall as Elodie Neto will check off. Compton, the sophomore from Sissonville, West Virginia. West Liberty transfer. All Atlantic region second team last year as a Hilltopper. Ball bouncing around. Mish is going to get called for the foul. 4 fouls now on the herd. Marshall averaging right around 10 a match. As Mish picked up the ball, ran off. And that's a little bit of gamesmanship you'll see. Just allowing her team to get back defensively and slowing down the progression for Georgia Southern. No fouls yet to be called. Excuse me, not a single foul to be called so far on the Eagles. .13:18 to go in the first half. Ball played up ahead, right to the feet of Smith Cathy. And the official on the far side, flag goes up offside. Second offside in about the last minute against Georgia Southern.
Ball hit the official there. It's just gotten a little broken up out there on the pitch here the last few moments.
Disorganized?
Yes, in all accounts. Marshall was trying to play the ball forward, and it hit right off of the head referee, and he just gives the ball to Georgia Southern.
And now the Eagles will work it all the way to the far side of the pitch. Faith Phillips also came on for Kylie Drew for Georgia Southern a few moments ago. Ball popped into the air and right into the waiting hands like a fair catch. As Carly Borgelt did not quite get the strike on it that she wanted to. And that creates an opportunity now. Leah Mish, you may have just seen that in the middle of the pitch, just, I think it was backpedaling, just fell. She came up laughing herself. Just adding to a little bit of the weirdness of this game at this moment.
Yeah, and it started very normal-like, but yeah, these last 2 minutes or so, a little bit of calamity out there.
It's like the Benny Hill theme all of a sudden. Georgia Southern all the way back for Quinn Wilson. Wilson was in Beaufort, South Carolina, the Low Country Sports Defensive Player of the Year in 2021. both of her parents played tennis at Wake. And if you're familiar with Wake, the athletic programs predominantly in every sport are very, very sound.
Yes, especially those Olympic sports.
Wilson even had an assist last year in the Sun Belt Conference tournament coming from between the pipes.
It says a lot about her, Coach Chris Adams, having the confidence to still play her significant minutes this year, despite having an all-conference caliber goalkeeper back from injury.
Lecky gets to the ball, and foul called on Lecky as Golden hit the turf.
Lecky disagreed, but I think she also knew it because look at the hesitation. Wait, you didn't call anything? Okay, now I'm going to go, oh, wait, there's the whistle. What do you mean I did something?
Ball out on the far touchline. Throw for Marshall quickly right off the head of a Georgia Southern player. And Marshall will have to play it back. Hurd wanted to go fast there, but I think as soon as it went off the head of a Georgia Southern player, not able to do so. Again, a Marshall team that operates within the triangles. You will pretty much always see options to the left and right in a triangle formation if Marshall is playing right. 3-0-1 at home for Marshall. Of course, head coach Rafa Simoes, native of Brazil, played at the University of Charleston from 2014 to 2017. Played for the men's coach, the Marshall men's coach, Chris Grassi, for 3 years. He was a runner-up in Division II in 2014, Final Four in 2015, a runner-up in 2016, before winning the national championship in 2017. Ball in the middle for Lecky. Lecky turns, and a great clearance that time along the back by Georgia Southern. Turns Marshall away. National championship for Rafa Simoes in 2017. He was 82-8-5 while playing at the University of Charleston. You can't do much. I guess technically you could be 95-0. But I feel like that's getting kind of picky, and that's getting very, I don't know, stubborn is not the word I'm looking for, but just 82-8-5, I think you'd take more often than not.
Absolutely. And in a sport that just by its nature plays close, even when there might be a discrepancy in level of play.
Ball played up ahead. Bailey Fisher. Fisher's got some help in the middle for Compton. Sends it in, and just nobody home. She sends the cross in. It's picked up by Wilson. Now Marshall creating some space again, but Georgia Southern doing a good job on the back as well. Of course, one of the teammates of Rafa Simoes at the University of Charleston was Ross Holland, his assistant coach. Ball played out near side as Compton on the tackle is going to get whistled for the foul. And she sent Golden back to the turf.
And just to add to the interesting play we've just had, Golden got hit in the back by that goal or free kick. It's just one of those days.
Off of Compton's knee. Ball bouncing around. McComas tries to get to it, but it goes out near side. It'll be a throw for Georgia Southern. Smith Cathy. You get a lot look at head coach Rafa Simoes. Really cool moment on Friday as well, as he escorted Marshall men's soccer senior Lineker Rodriguez dos Santos onto the field for his senior night. I asked him about that relationship. He said, look, he said, when I was still with the men's team, I recruited him. I brought him in. We're both from Brazil. He said, what it tells me is this game is about the relationships. He said, I like to coach because I like the relationships I'm building. It's a friend that I'll have for life. And it just was a cool moment. You don't always see that when a coach gets to escort a player. Foul in the middle of the pitch. Olivia Golden kind of falls onto the back of Leah Mish. And that creates a free kick for the Thundering Herd.
When Marshall was looking to hire a new coach in the offseason, one of the people on the committee that kind of stuck out was men's coach Chris Grassi. And then with the assistant coach Rafa Simoes getting the position, it just shows you the connectivity. And at this point, why not? Why would you not trust Chris Grassi with the success he's had everywhere he's been? And hopefully he's hoping to help translate that to the women's side as well.
Bailey Fisher plays it all the way back for Travasos. Compton near side. Compton sprinting towards the end line, gets bumped off the ball. I mean, that's just smart defending. Exactly what's happening there from Olivia Golden. Just shielding Compton from the ball. And that's just a really smart play by the freshman from Peachtree City, Georgia. Katie Porter will come on for Marshall. She'll come in for Ebony Leckie. A few moments ago, Addison Comer came on for Georgia Southern. Comer came on for Carly Borgelt, excuse me. Porter on for Leckie, as I mentioned. Pretty successful weekend in Marshall athletics. Friday night, a really fun game between Marshall and James Madison. The men's team drew against JMU, fell behind 2-0. As Kamori turns on a defender, ball left off for Fisher. Fisher rolls one just past the hands of Wilson, but misses just wide right. Fisher was looking for her third goal of the year, as just barely out of the arms of Wilson, but just barely past the net as well.
I think Wilson had that played about as well as you could have, because had it been on goal, she would have been able to get both hands on it. So, yeah, that was close, though. Good strike from Fisher. Just a little wide of net.
5 minutes to go in the first now. But also talked about that match on Friday night. Marshall men fall behind 2-0 and then battle back to net too late to find the draw. Of course, yesterday, the Marshall football team in action against Appalachian State, picking up a 52-37 win over the Mountaineers. Herd football 3-2 now. Marshall men's soccer 7-1-2 now. Lots of action in the top 5 over the last couple days. Probably we'll see Marshall stay right around that number 5 ranking in the men's top 25, as now Madison Towns is down far side. Beautiful tackle on the far side for Towns. You saw her last year. Had some trouble at times with injuries for the majority of the season. As the official just kind of telling the Marshall side right now, hold off. Towns holding that right leg.
Well, I mean, we can be honest. Marshall's been a little bit bit by the injury bug for the past 2 seasons now.
Towns last year was out. So far this year, Nicole Navarro, Alyssa Harden, both out for the season with injuries. Far side throw coming up for Georgia Southern. Just one shot on goal thus far for Georgia Southern. Ball played into the box, and Fisher turns it away. Now the Herd tries to go quickly, turns it back over. Just under 4 minutes to play in the first half. Still scoreless between the Thundering Herd and Georgia Southern. Switching fields are the Eagles. 4 shots, 2 on goal for Marshall, 1 shot, 1 on goal for Georgia Southern, and really it's just been back and forth a little bit. Marshall has had a couple opportunities, just really not able to make anything too dangerous. Georgia Southern still trying to find its real first dangerous opportunity of the match.
Yeah, Marshall's definitely had the better opportunities. Marshall with 4 shots, 2 on goal. Georgia Southern 1 shot, it was on goal. But yeah, the ball that was just off the mark from Fisher there a moment ago was an excellent scoring opportunity for Marshall. Won't say that Marshall's necessarily missed a great one, but at the same time, Marshall's been able to create several more opportunities.
Yeah, the best opportunity for either side was probably the Fisher strike in about the first 5 minutes. Far side off of the flag, as the flag goes flying. And it'll create a corner kick for the Eagles.
Flag went completely end over end. I thought it might stick the landing there.
Yeah.
That would just add to the strangeness we've seen at times thus far.
So multiple substitutions come on now for the Eagles, as It'll be Maya Zavko and Kendall Wilson will both come on. Both sophomores. Zavko from Brookfield, Wisconsin. Wilson from Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Georgia Southern plays it into the box. In the air, right there, Smith Cathy. Cathy with the strike and sent away by Bailey Fisher. Fisher tries to win it in the corner and does as Marshall keeps possession. Good job by Fisher. Little two-man game with Brooklyn McComas as McComas tries to play it up ahead. It goes off of Fisher and out. And it'll create a throw now for the Eagles. Good job by Georgia Southern to maintain possession this time.
And Marshall looked like it was ready to try to run, and Georgia Southern able to break it up and then get the ball back, at least momentarily.
Zavko with the touch far side. She'll lose it. It'll be a throw for the Thundering Herd. I think I said sophomore for Zavko. I meant to say senior. Apologies.
She's in her 5th year of eligibility.
Yeah, that'd have been impressive to be a sophomore in your 5th year of eligibility.
Well, COVID years and red shirts and medical red shirts. We've almost got out of those COVID years. So I think we're about a year away from everyone who got a COVID year of eligibility having expired their eligibility.
Komori plays it to the far side. Travasos trying to find some space inside the 18 with about 30 seconds to play in the first half. Towns tries to lay it off to Porter, and it'll be taken away by Comer with 25 seconds to play. That's going to create a free kick for the Eagles. Marshall's just got to defend for about 20 more seconds.
A little bit too passive there for Marshall on that attack. Knowing that it's late in the half, maybe just, let one fly and see what happens.
Wolgemuth will play it up ahead with 5 seconds to play in the first. And Fowler will just clear it away. And that's how the first half will end. Scoreless between Marshall and Georgia Southern after 45 minutes of play. We're going to go to the break. You'll hear a conversation with Ava Hall and Alyssa Harden in just a few moments right here on ESPN+.
When you have something to get done today, getting everything you need today is helpful. Order online at Ace and we'll deliver same day. Or we'll have it ready for pickup in 15 minutes.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
There's no one way to wellness. You have to craft it yourself.
My way is starting calm and finishing strong.
My way is pushing the limit.
My way is going for it. My way is focused on the future.
There's a million ways to wellness. Go find yours.
Let's get out. Let's get lost. With backup plans. And no plans at all. Let's get dirty. Skin knees and splinters. Let's get out and let the world in. The new 2025 Ford Explorer. It's all in the name.
That looks really high.
It is high.
Here we go.
It's time to push your limits.
You're doing great.
Whoa, is that a buffalo?
Maybe that's a cow.
The Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness. Adventure on the edge.
Get great low rates on any Subaru Crosstrek for a limited time. I'm on the next level now. It's so on.
Live can't miss NFL games. An ESPN Plus exclusive Monday night matchup. Plus NFL primetime. You can't get anywhere else. And our exclusive expert analysis. ESPN Plus equals more football. Stream now.
This time I use top.
It's in! Historic goal! Houston scores! Left-footed goal!
Welcome back to the broadcast. Bobby Eddings joined alongside, kind of, by Marshall seniors Ava Hall and Alyssa Harden. Girls, it's senior day for you guys, and I think I'd be remiss if I didn't kind of look back on your careers. 2021, Alyssa, Ava, you guys can kind of decide who wants to take this. But what would you tell that kid that came back to Marshall, I'll call it 3.5 years ago? What would you tell that kid?
You wanna go? Oh gosh, I would just say that you're gonna have a crazy ride. You definitely gonna have things are unexpected, but it's gonna be so fulfilling. You're gonna end up having those moments where it's really hard sometimes, but then it's all gonna be worth it in the end. And you're gonna look back on it and it's gonna go by really, really fast. So just enjoy it while you can, cherish the moments, make good memories. You're gonna meet so many amazing people along the way. So just really don't take anything for granted because one day you're going to be without it and you're going to really, really miss it.
Ava, what about for you?
I think for me, I kind of feel the same exact way. I think mine and Alyssa's experience was a little bit different in terms of how our senior year has gone in terms of individually, but I think like looking back, if it were me going into my freshman year, I'm just very proud of like who I've become as a player and individually, my confidence, just knowing that I am capable of making it this far and, just the change from 2021 to now has just been, unreal. And it's honestly great looking back and seeing like how much I've developed.
Alyssa, is there a game, and I guess this is for both of you, is there a game that sticks out to you guys that you remember? I know you got, a handful of 10 games left, however much. Is there a game that sticks out to you as one that you just think about and you're like, man, I will remember that game forever?
Yeah, for me personally, it's actually my first collegiate soccer game our freshman year. Sorry, that's our dog. Hold on. For me personally, it's my first collegiate soccer game my freshman year. I actually scored my first collegiate goal, and it was a really big, like, wow, you made it type of moment. But also, I think a big game that sticks out for both of us that we can both attest to is last year or 2 years ago when we went to Sunbelt Conference tournament as the 10 seed and we had to play the 3 seed. We ended up winning and we went on to quarterfinals, and it was just such a big experience for us. That was our first time ever going to like a playoff game like that, and for both of us, we both played good minutes that game, and it was just such an amazing experience with the girls to just really be the underdogs and have that true underdog story of like you can do it. Like even if you're up against the odds, like we have the ability and the players, and you just have to want it. And that game will always go down in a really important game for I think the both of us. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Ava, for you guys, this is kind of last question for both of you guys. Ava, I'll start with you because you're kind of more the hometown, I guess we'll say, just growing up kind of in the Scott Depot, Winfield area. First for you, Ava, then for you, Alyssa. What has Marshall soccer meant to you?
I think for me personally, like growing up close to the university, it's been like a great experience to play in front of a crowd where I know, a bunch of people and a bunch of fans who are rooting for me specifically. But at the end of the day, like Marshall is just a huge community that I've been a part of my entire life. And, these past 4 years, it's been different. Like I've grown up in high school playing on the soccer field, on Marshall's field, but it's a completely different experience than actually playing for the college team themselves. So, being a homegirl, it's just been a privilege to be able to play in front of the fans that I've like grown up with my entire life. So,
what about you, Alyssa?
Yeah, obviously I'm a little bit away from home, but Marshall really has become my home away from home, both with soccer and without. I'm president of Women in Cyber, my student organization, and those girls mean the world to me. My cyber forensics and security program means the world to me, but this soccer program is like my life. I absolutely adore everybody, the players, all the staff members that we met along the way. There's been so many. Like, these are the people and the memories that I'm going to cherish for the rest of my life. And this year obviously didn't go as I planned it with my injury, but it's still been so fulfilling. Like, still being able to be a captain is such an honor and something that I will never, ever, ever forget. That'll always be one of my biggest accomplishments in life. And these days, you're going to look back on them and be like, wow, like, you really miss it. It really does fly by. So it's definitely something that I think shaped me into the person that I am today. And I wouldn't change it for the world.
Bobby Eddings joined alongside by Alyssa Hard and Ava Hall. It is senior day here in Huntington. We're going to step aside for a break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with more Marshall women's soccer on ESPN+.
Hey, Flo. Cool leg warmers.
Thanks. They're just for the bus ride to work. They're not part of the official uniform.
No tunes today?
No. My apartment was robbed last night. Took my cable-ready TV, VCR, portable cassette player.
Yep, all the latest tech.
If only Progressive had renter's insurance, like their home insurance.
Then we could bundle our cars and get the same 24/7 protection. I think we just invented that. This is the best day ever.
Well, I still got robbed.
It's still a pretty good day.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T.
The price, it is a phenomenal value.
Save big on America's largest and fastest 5G network.
While we're out doing the fun things we like to do, with T-Mobile, I get reliable coverage. It's great.
Customers 55 and up get an exclusive rate plan for just $30 a line.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today.
So what are you working on?
Something for the Garcias. Right there's great.
Love you, honey.
Thanks, Mom.
We've got 24 hours to get all of this under control.
Then you're gonna need these today.
Oh, we can deliver that.
Thank you.
Today, tomorrow, get delivery at the speed you need only at the Home Depot.
Your record label is taking off, but so is your sound engineer. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Indeed Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description.
Our house-made ketchup.
I'm Janet Hines. I can't be seen eating non-Heinz ketchup.
Do we have any Heinz? There.
I'm Jordan Heidema, and soccer is just one part of my story. Jordan outside of soccer is a little bit different than Jordan in soccer. I have moments where I can be silly, I have moments where I can be serious, and you definitely get a sneak peek into who I am with what I wear. Off field, I mean, like street style, baggy stuff. I don't think there's like a gender in clothes. Whatever you feel confident in, go rock it. TJ Maxx. Maxx what makes you, you.
Prime Big Deal Days is coming October 8th and 9th. With exclusive savings just for Prime members, you'll feel like a big deal. Shop deals on electronics, fashion, and more this Prime Big Deal Days, October 8th and 9th.
All right, sandworms out of the basement and the furnace has been exercised. Another Progressive home and auto bundle fully protected from the unexpected.
Beetlejuice caused quite a ruckus, huh?
Jamie, don't say his name.
Beetlejuice?
Saying his name 3 times is how you summon him.
Right. What if I say other words in between? Does that restart it?
Don't overthink it.
Or what if I broke it up into 2 parts? Like someone said, what's your favorite bug? Beetle. What's your favorite morning beverage? Juice.
You're welcome.
Beetlejuice in theaters now.
Truth is, my schedule's pretty jam-packed these days. I've got school Monday through Friday, jujitsu on Thursdays, and library books I've got to get back by Friday. In my weekend, I've got 2. We know 3 birthday parties on Saturday, and Sunday, that's my me time. I am not willing to give that up.
How's that look?
Works for me.
Works for me.
Jordan outside of soccer is a little bit different than Jordan in soccer. You definitely get a sneak peek into who I am with what I wear. Whatever you feel confident in, go rock it. TJ Maxx. Maxx what makes you, you.
Our house-made ketchup.
I'm Janet Hines. I can't be seen eating non-Heinz ketchup.
Do we have any hinds? There.
The future of cool, comfortable sleep is here. Introducing the new Sleep Number Climate Cool Smart Bed, the only smart bed in the world that actively cools and effortlessly adjusts to both of you. Sleep up to 15 degrees cooler on each side. It actively cools by drawing warm air away from your body to keep you cool and comfortable throughout the night. Our smart sleepers get 28 minutes more restful sleep per night. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Visit a Sleep Number store near you.
No flex, zone. No flex, zone. They know better. They know better. Wanna go, metal, flex, and a go.
Back in Huntington, scoreless at the half between Georgia Southern and Marshall. Get a look at some highlights from the first half between the Eagles and the Thundering Herd. It's been a foul-filled match. Neither team with really a significant opportunity yet. Bobby Eddings joined alongside by Ryan Epling. As these two teams have both been, essentially, Marshall has played its possession style, had an early opportunity. Georgia Southern trying to build an attack, and that's really where we leave it.
Yeah, have been unable to connect at the back end, or excuse me, I should say at the front end of those attacks for Georgia Southern. You look at the stats, Marshall with 4 shots, 2 on goal, 7 fouls. There were none 20 minutes in, so 7 in the final 25 minutes for Marshall. Each team 2 corner kicks. Georgia Southern has only attempted 2 shots, 1 on goal, 1 foul, 2 offsides. It's really been a fairly even match. Normally, when it comes to fouls, the side that is maybe a beat slower to the ball will end up getting called for more. I wouldn't necessarily say that Marshall's been that much behind athletically in this contest so far. Just kind of the way things have played out. I do think things have been officiated very well to this point. And, we've got a good, tight, competitive soccer match between two teams with somewhat contrasting styles.
And Georgia Southern, of course, comes in tied for 4th in the preseason rankings. Out of 14 teams, Marshall 13th out of 14. This would be, you talk about a kind of, I don't want to say program defining, but a really positive step in the right direction. That's what this potentially could be for Rafa Samoys and the rest of this staff, considering the pedigree of this Georgia Southern program.
Yeah, Georgia Southern is one of the, top third in the Sun Belt programs and have done so, had a lot of success recently. Won the Sun Belt Conference East Division a year ago. And they are 1-2 in conference play, but all 7 matches they've lost this year by 1 goal. So it's not like this is the team that's far off. Marshall, on the other hand, still trying to get its footing. And this is a big second half for both sides for varying reasons. For Marshall, you're in program building mode. For Georgia Southern, you need a positive result in a road match in terms of looking forward to the rest of your season, because it does not get any easier for the Eagles. They have the 2 Virginia Powers coming up, Old Dominion and James Madison, on their schedule.
Well, and realize that this is a Georgia Southern team that has a lot to deal with. They have to play in Huntington today, start school back up tomorrow. And then as you take a look at the upcoming schedule for Georgia Southern, this is a team that then has to go on the road back to Norfolk before it comes back home for 2 weeks. There's just a lot of travel that's gone on here recently for this Georgia Southern program, between, of course, that home match against Coastal Carolina, dealing with the ramifications of the hurricane, now coming to Huntington, and just the amount of just travel and just upset to a normal routine and schedule has been pretty immense right now for this Georgia Southern program.
Well, and I hate to use this word, but it's almost like constant annoyance, because nothing flows as you're used to it flowing. You've got home is difficult right now because of the hurricane situation. And yes, again, bad enough in Statesboro that they canceled some things last weekend and haven't been to class now in more than a week at Georgia Southern University. So that's something to deal with. Power outages that lasted nearly a week in some cases in that community. So, home is difficult. It's not as easy as normal. And then the road is never easy, especially in the Sun Belt. And they'll get to go home after the match today, and then Wednesday right back out to Norfolk.
You can help people affected by Hurricane Helene. Donate at redcross.org/ESPN to help Red Cross respond and help people recover. Again, that is redcross.org/ESPN. We'll get set for the second half between the Thundering Herd and the Eagles. As Marshall comes out to begin the second half, Kamori, Leckie, Meto, Mish, Travasos, Fisher, Towns, Fowler, Ekstrom, as well as McComas. So the same 11 in Wolgemuth and net, the same 11 for Marshall to start the second half as it had to start the first. Marshall thwarts the effort from Georgia Southern and plays it up ahead. Overlapping run now to Fisher down the near side. Second half begins just how the first one did. Ball crossed in. Leckie wasn't quite home. Just couldn't quite get to that step. And it'll roll all the way across the far side touchline. But Marshall, same way really Marshall started the first half.
Just out of reach of Leckie, but a high quality cross there from Fisher. That was right on the doorstep. And like you said, Marshall playing fast early, just like it did in the first half.
Travasos has it go off of her hand, sets up a free kick for Georgia Southern. This is the Georgia Southern team we kind of talked about, just the quality of effort that Chris Adams has seen ever since he took over. It's a team whose culture is to win. And he said, look, he said, right now we're still learning. He said, we had such leadership last year. We're still figuring it out. He said, I got told a great story by Clay Helton, the Georgia Southern football coach, that Georgia Southern told the leadership, or he told the leadership council at Georgia Southern, I didn't get fired from USC because of my record. He said he believed he got fired because he believed after winning the Rose Bowl that the culture would just continue on itself, that it would just happen organically. He said he learned quickly, and he really told this to the rest of the coaches at Georgia Southern, that culture is something he had to work on every single day. And that's something Chris Adams talked about. We continue to have to work on culture. Kamori in the middle, switches fields near side for Towns. Marshall with some open area now. Towns, couple dribbles towards the top of the 18. Madison Towns on the run, crosses over right into the hands of Wilson. Marshall had three players crashing on net, and Wilson snares it out of the air. The Eagles back on the counter now. Quick pace, quick transition the other direction for Georgia Southern. Kylie Drew far side. Drew cuts back, crosses in. Marshall clears. And now we go the other way. Neither team really backing down right now.
And Marshall had some space to push forward there, but I think just kind of wanted to calm things down here.
Didn't have the numbers quite. This is, as I mentioned, Marshall with just 2 substitutions in the first 45. Georgia Southern with 4. So you got to kind of navigate around the minutes and the load you're putting on your players as well. Georgia Southern tries to play a ball up ahead. Travasos, a full sprint. Ball gets played back to the keeper, Wilson. Travasos pressuring Wilson. She'll clear it. And it's lost out far side. So the pressure from Travasos advantageous for Marshall now far side. Throw comes in. This ball gets played back. And it'll be into the feet of the Eagles. Marshall, just a mistouch there, results in possession for Georgia Southern, but the Herd tries to get it back. Not able to do so as Olivia Golden kept possession. Now ball played up ahead. Travaso steps in front, takes it away. Kamori trying to keep it. Can't do so. Borgelt will come away. Georgia Southern right now just talking with Chris Adams. He said, I want hard-working players. We kind of talked about this day and age. Do you want a player that's willing to work hard, or do you want someone with strict talent? He said, I want somebody that's a hardworking player. He said, I want someone that wants to be or ingrained in them, that they want to get better every single day. He said, we're really honest with our recruits in the recruiting process. We're going to give them tough love. So we're very open about communication. We want them to know what they're getting themselves into. And he said, basically, if you want to come in and you don't want to be coached hard, maybe it's not the program for you. And I asked him, I said, do you have any relation between parenting and the coaching crossover? He said, yeah. He said, look, he said, I'm hard on my kids, but I'm just as hard on my players the exact same way. So they need to know what to expect if they're going to come here and play for me. Foul called behind the play. Marshall didn't quite have the advantage as our official let it go for just a moment. And when Marshall lost the advantage, blew the whistle, calls the foul. 7 fouls in the first on Marshall, just 1 on Georgia Southern. Marshall averaging 10 on the year as the Herd turns it over along its defending third. Travasos just pretty big mistouch that time, not able to keep possession for Marshall. And now the Herd will get it back. Middle of the field, Leah Mish is down. Ball chipped towards the near side for Fisher. Wilson off of her line will pick it up. As player down for the Herd. As I believe that's the freshman from Germany down on the pitch. Training staff will come on to have a look at Leah Mish with 39.5 minutes to play in the match.
She was pounding the turf as soon as she hit it there, and definitely was in a lot of discomfort. And you hate to see that. Leah Mish had an assist in the win against Troy last week. And again, another one of these young players who is sort of coming into her own, picking up the confidence. And again, a Marshall side that has had its fair share, more than its fair share of injuries, it feels like. And at least at the moment, you know, you hope this isn't anything more than just something that maybe shocked her a little bit.
8 starts in 10 matches this year for Mish. Is looked to be working on a foot. And if you weren't with us on Friday, Chris Grassi, the men's coach, told me a pretty interesting story. He said in his opinion, and he admittedly, he and I were just joking around, he got on his old man soapbox a little bit, that they don't make boots or cleats the way that they used to. He talked about the fact that now they make them more plastic on the bottom as opposed to the rubber that they used to use where they could bend more. And he said in his opinion, that's not good for the player or the feet because of the fact that if your foot can't bend, it's in more of a stationary position. Because of that, if you take a look at it again here, when Mish goes down on the collision, just you see her immediately go down and hold on to a foot. But he said that what he did when he was a player for Alderson Broaddus, he said what he did was he wore a size 10 cleat, but he normally wears a 12. So you think about fitting a foot inside a size 10 when you wear 2 sizes. He said, but what he did because of the rubber, he said you could stretch out that cleat or that boot. He would wear it into the bathtub and would allow the rubber to expand and grow on his foot. He said it was so tight on his foot to the point where he could see the outline of his toes. And he said, he thought that always allowed him more range of motion in his feet because of the rubber on the cleat as opposed to the plastic in today's.
Soccer players are just different, aren't they?
Yeah, well, and then of course we got into the conversation of, you know, he tries to tell players now if there's a 2022 shoe you like, stick with that. You can make a modification to the 2024 version to make it do things. He said, you know, look, newer is not always, you know, the newer is not always better thing. And I said, well, how many people listen to that? He goes, not many. So it's just interesting to hear kind of the conversation around boots and the design of those boots. As Rafa Samoy is having a conversation with our official on that play right near midfield. And some of this always, and we don't know the exact contents of this conversation, some of this always, I'm sure, is posturing for calls later in the match as well, after that situation that happened in the mid center of the pitch with Leah Mish. Chris Adams wanting our officials to just get the match restarted, as Rafa has his assistant coaches Dan O'Connor and Ross Holland sit down. Riley McKinney did come on for Leah Mish as well. I wouldn't call it a spirited conversation, but Rafa definitely trying to get a point across to our official. And they will review it now on VAR, just I'm assuming to see if it should be a card or anything of the sort.
Well, just from what we could see, it did not appear that there would be anything.
I think our coaching staff may have been having a conversation with one another, I believe.
Hey, they're competitive. Both sides are competitive. And this is a very competitive, highly competitive match. Kind of a crux in the season. You're almost to the midway point of conference play. Georgia Southern, to get where it wants to go, needs to get some wins. And for Marshall, trying to build, build toward making into the conference tournament, and then trying to have a side that can be formidable there. You want to take care of business at home. So you've got two sides that are very, very competitive right now, and that's just how things are going.
Yeah, the debate is whether or not it should have been ruled a strong tackle, which would result in a card potentially. See Crenshaw come in there and wasn't called anything on the pitch, as Mish is up and walking around now as well. She walks right in front of the Marshall bench, gives a couple high fives to the Marshall coaching staff. Get a look at Quinn Wilson there. You see it just looked like a collision, I think.
I think perhaps her heel got maybe stepped on there, but it wasn't like the boot came way up and then stepped down. It was just trying to play the ball, and Mish perhaps beat her opponent to the ball by a fraction of a second. It wasn't anything that would necessarily draw any kind of decision.
So it doesn't look like any card will be awarded. And Riley McKinney will be allowed to come on for Marshall. So kind of what was expected. As now both teams, just after a pretty lengthy delay, the worry is how flat-footed are you coming out of that lengthy delay?
Well, remember, we're also in a game where the hydration breaks are in effect. Temperatures in the mid-80s, so the team stayed on the pitch during all of that, so we could still have that to go still. So we've got a whole lot of disjointedness thus far in this match.
Weird, as we said earlier, just weird. You saw Quinn Wilson a minute ago dribbling the ball with her hands along the back. Wilson was also second-team all-region in high school in basketball, so she's got some experience dribbling with the hands as well as the feet.
I really think those two sports help each other, soccer and basketball. I really am a believer in that. There are obviously some noted differences, but at the same time, they're very similar conceptually.
You can definitely see Georgia Southern playing a little higher now. It's that time. Kylie Drew very close to getting a touch on the ball as Wolgamu sent it to the far side to extra. 4 players playing higher right now for the Eagles, really pressing this Marshall back line. Heard create some space in the middle, all the way back to extra, and now Georgia Southern really applying pressure. Marshall turns it over. Eagles on the attack now. Ball into the 18. Tipped just off the foot of Smith Cathy and creates a goal kick for Marshall. And you kind of mentioned it, and I've talked about this thing. I talked about it last year. I had a friend who is a Division I strength coach, and he kind of talked about, look, he said, I encourage kids to play every single sport they can, because if you only play basketball, for instance, you become so rigid in basketball movements. But if you play football, or if you play basketball, softball, soccer, whatever, tennis, you become more rigid in other motions, and you become more limber in terms of your body as well. Bailey Fisher trying to get around the defender. Good defending that time on the near side by Wolfenden. And then Fisher called for the foul. And the official will stop the clock as Fisher just running back into a defensive position. Got a foot on the ball. So the clock will stop. Take a look at it. Wolfenden, great job shielding Fisher away from the ball.
Fisher just kind of hooked her underneath.
Yep, and then she hooked her, exactly. Near side, ball bounces away from Meredith Pugh. Pugh also really interesting. We talk about multi-sport athletes. She played flag football in high school at Gulf Breeze, Florida. So not only was she captain her senior year of high school in soccer, but played flag football too. Just shows you the multi-talented athlete she was. Throw near side for Marshall. Intensity definitely picking up a little bit in this match as well right now.
Still a long way to go. These sides both kind of amping up the pressure like we're maybe in the final 5 minutes, but we've still got 36, nearly 37 to go.
It feels like a lot less just with the stoppage we had there for a moment. But to Ryan's point, indeed, still 36-47 to go in the match. Ball played back to Travasos right on the midfield logo. She switches fields to the near side, Towns, but Pugh takes it away. Meredith Pugh tries to play it up ahead, but Marshall has it right at its feet. Now Fowler all the way back for Alexis Wolgemuth. Speaking of multi-sport stars, Wolgemuth was in high school, played 4 different sports. Marshall loses possession now. Turned over to Crenshaw. Crenshaw up ahead. Ball tried to be cleared away by Marshall. Some volleying back and forth between the two sides now. Bourgelt in the middle. Back off to Crenshaw. Crenshaw tries to cross it in. Sent out by Marshall. Neither side able to keep possession right this second. It's been almost akin to what you would see from kind of a back and forth tennis match or a volleyball match. Just your eyes just keep moving right to left as teams just keep going back and forth at each other.
It's been a helter-skelter second half. Marshall, again, just like the first half, the first maybe 2 to 3 minutes, very aggressive. Georgia Southern countered that time or two, and now neither team's been able to build much of anything.
Marshall just trying to build. This is a Marshall side at just 86 shots on the year, has the least amount of shots taken within the conference. Just 4 today, but on the other side, good defensively for Marshall, just 2 for Georgia Southern. 2 shots on goal for Marshall, 1 shot on goal for Georgia Southern, 2 corners apiece for each team. Ball played up ahead to Komori, but good defending as well by Crenshaw, getting in front of Komori, not allowing her to have any opportunity with the ball. And again, Georgia Southern's playing about 5 players right now in the attacking third. Just really not allowing Marshall to get any open space. McKinney, a couple dribbles, tries to play it up ahead for Komori. Hurd turns it over. Now back to Travasos. Marshall works it all the way back into the box for Wolgemuth, who will run it down. Wolgemuth just got to get back in frame, and she will. As the Hurd works to the middle, Travasos. Now what you're going to be susceptible to if you're Georgia Southern is the counterattack if Marshall can string together multiple passes. The issue's been Marshall hasn't been able to do that thus far. Meto far side now. Marshall into the attacking third. Meto has it taken away. Great job defensively by the Eagles. Meto clips an Eagle, and now Meto gets a card. Elodie Meto picks up a card after Olivia Golden, who I feel like we've called her name a bunch today, was able to get back and take it away from the junior from Cameroon. Between Golden on that far side, Casey, Wolfenden, Wilkins, that back line for Georgia Southern has played really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Meto, that card comes out because her boot was still about waist high into the defender as the ball was taken away. So that is how we got there, as Georgia Southern plays a long ball.
Ball played towards the end line. Madison Towns runs it down for Marshall. Her just got to be careful along that back line. As gets it right to the feet of Towns. And now Marshall, this is just Marshall, when pinned back into a corner, that's where those triangles become so important. Just a couple touches and Marshall creates some space now. In the middle for Leckie. Ebony Leckie, that senior attacker, which is what Marshall needed coming into the year, is Crenshaw's tackle. Sends Leckie down, still down behind the play, but the Eagles continue in possession. Ball taken away by Marshall as McComas is able to give the Hurd possession back. Leckie still stretching out that leg right near the midfield stripe. Down to 33 minutes to go in the contest. Again, neither team with a really great opportunity thus far. But at times, we've seen some pretty high-quality soccer. It's just that last touch, that finishing touch from both sides. It just hasn't been there yet. Ball headed on by Fisher. Nobody home except the back line for Georgia Southern. Mezzo was right there, nearly had a touch on it. Now Marshall just trying to get possession back far side, and it's sent out by the Eagles as actually McKinney, I think, stepped on a Georgia Southern player on the far side. She stepped on Golden. As Golden goes down, Lecky goes down, and our official having a conversation with Travasos. Travasos, a very vocal player out on the pitch for Marshall at times. And now she gets a yellow as well. Take a look at it. I think McKinney came in and clipped the knee that time of Golden. As our official will stop the clock with 32:23 to go. Just to go check on Golden, and she's got a pretty significant limp on the far side.
She's been everywhere defensively, too, for Georgia Southern. She's a key to that back line.
Couple substitutions getting set to come on for Marshall. When able to do so, happy to report one of them being Leah Mish, who was down on the pitch there for a couple moments and was in pretty significant pain, but looks as if she'll be able to come back on. And we weren't sure. Maria Chavez also getting set to come back on. Weren't sure if she was really here today or not, and indeed she is. Riley McKinney runs it down for Marshall. Kamori, one touch, tries to create some space for Fisher, can't do so. Now the Herd again, just trying to create space. That's a big part of this offense, is just creating space. This team, this philosophy, they want you just in the right spot at the right time. The thought process is it might not go in the first time, but if you continue to put yourself in the right position, it's going to go in eventually. Fisher gets herself some space inside the 18. Bailey Fisher cross, tried to. She had a defender bearing down on her and wasn't able to really get the quality on that one, and sends it into the side of the net. And that's good defending from the back line again, as Wolfenden really pressing down on Bailey Fisher.
An excellent pass from McKinney to get Fisher into open space, and good defense recovery.
Lecky and Travasos came off for Marshall. Coming on is Zavko. Zavko will come on for Georgia Southern. She came on for Aaron Wilkins. There's Mish on the ball, as you see her getting back into the action, which is good to see. Far side, see, that wasn't Lecky that came off for Marshall. That instead was Angel Fowler. Far side, Marshall on the attack, pressing, ball into the box, player goes down, no call, as the fans wanted a call, but none is given. There's Leah Mish, again, back on the ball. Mish dribbling towards the top of the 18. Mish plays the ball into the box. There's Towns. Towns crosses. Good defense again. Ball bouncing around and went off of a hand. Lecky gets a strike and tipped up and over the net by Wilson. And I think you're actually going to get a handball call on Marshall, as the far side flag went up before the Lecky shot. And that creates a free kick inside the 18 for Georgia Southern.
That's the first time Georgia Southern's been a little sloppy on the back end. Marshall nearly able to take advantage.
Ball played up ahead, and to no foot of a Georgia Southern player, McComas will run it down, and the Herd restarts. So your center backs now, it actually looks like Marshall might just go three across the back right now with McComas, Ekstrom, as well as Chavez, and try and send more forward as Mezzo goes down far side, and Georgia Southern now back on the attack. Pretty equal numbers on the attack for Georgia Southern. Smith-Cathy trying to create some space, and McComas, as good as Olivia Golden's been today, McComas has been just that for Marshall, as McComas sends it out and creates a throw for the Eagles far side.
She's been a very, very vital piece of that back line. She's been everywhere thus far for Marshall as well. You're right. Those two have both played excellent matches.
Amelia Compson will come on for Elodie Metzo. And Addison Comer will come on for Georgia Southern. Addison Comer, the transfer from North Florida. Ball out far side. Throw again for the Eagles. Again, and a productive afternoon for Marshall regardless. This is a team last year that gave up 4 goals to Georgia Southern in the first half. And yet now, we're about 62 minutes into this one. Eagles yet to find the back of the net. A Georgia Southern team picked to finish 4th in the preseason. Tied for 4th, technically. Eagles pushing forward now. Ball into the middle for Kylie Drew. Borgelt takes a shot, and jumping into the air is Alexis Wolgamuth. I think that would have been just a little wide anyway. And Wolgamuth grabs it out of the air. She's going to hold on to it to see, where do I go? She'll leave it off for Chavez. Chavez to Mish. Mish had the foot on the ball. And great job by her just to keep possession as she was getting back up. Georgia Southern not able to get there to dispossess her.
Able to stay over the ball and get directly straight back up. So you can keep on playing there. No dangerous play.
Lecky in the middle for Kamori. Now Marshall goes on the attack. Bailey Fisher, some room near side. Fisher creating some open space. Fisher towards the inline, and it's touched out by Meredith Pugh. And that'll set up a corner now for the Thundering Herd.
First corner kick for either side of the second half.
Leah Mish has been the consistent corner set piece taker for this Marshall team. And she will move to the corner to do so. And goes up from Mish. She sends it in. Low line drive. One touch from from Chavez, excuse me, at the top of the 18. Sends it into the playground behind the net. And Marshall again getting an opportunity. Just not able to put it on frame. As Bree Conley will come on for Kylie Drew. Bree Conley, first team preseason All Sun Belt. She had 7 goals last year, scored 6 of those in conference play. But again, due to injury, off to a rough start this season. Just hasn't seen the same start. Only 1 goal, no assist thus far. Last season, Conley had 19 points on the year. She was 6th in the conference in points. That's Conley on the ball there. One touch far side, cleared away. Ball up ahead as Lecky as well as Claire Casey were contending for the ball. And I think Lecky was called offside anyway. So that sets up Georgia Southern to head the other direction. Ball played up ahead for Conley. There's Chavez. Good speed from the freshman out of Portugal. Sends it into the stands near side. And a quick restart, and Georgia Southern misplay results in a Marshall possession now. Katie Porter will come on for the Herd. Ebony Lecky will come out. Five shots, 2 on goal for the Herd. 3 shots, 2 on goal for Georgia Southern. 11 fouls in the match, 9 on Marshall, 2 on the Eagles. It's definitely been a game that's been a little bit, I think exactly what I kind of expected, Ryan, when we talked about a little bit pregame was the fact that Georgia Southern wanted to be transitional. They wanted to move it back and forth as a card comes out to Meredith Pugh for Georgia Southern, colliding with Leah Mish, as Mish continues to have a little bit of a limp. Marshall free kick coming up, but it's been a little bit of what we expected, where Georgia Southern's wanted to be transitional. Marshall on the other side just wanted to keep possession and build opportunities from that.
these teams have definitely kind of countered each other as best they could to this point. You're seeing both teams, and again, pardon the expression, play left-handed. They're not able to do what they want to do. Marshall wants to possess. Georgia Southern's disrupting that. Georgia Southern wants to kind of break the field down and play free-flowing soccer, and Marshall's been able to stop and slow the game down at the right points as well. So the chess match continues.
Ball turned over by Marshall. Georgia Southern with the chance now. That's Smith. Kathy takes the shot and slots it into the back of the net. A Marshall turnover in the back gives Georgia Southern a chance. And Smith Kathy, the preseason All Sunbelt performer, gets her 5th goal of the year. And the Eagles take a 1-0 advantage with 24:16 to go.
Defender slips, and that set everything into motion. This sport is so much more precise than what you might think. It only takes one misstep, one misplay. The ball is up in the back of your net. Wohlgemuth really no chance to stop that shot from Smith Kathy.
So 1-0 the lead now for Georgia Southern. Marshall's going to have to battle back. And again, this is a Georgia Southern team that is 0-7 this year in 1-goal matches. So if you're Georgia Southern right now, you're thinking we need another one. And if you're Marshall, you're thinking we just need to equalize. As our official stops the clock while Marshall gets set on the throw-in far side. I will say our official, it's a quick stoppage of the clock, but the Georgia Southern player far side picked the ball up to take a throw herself, took it down and kind of threw it past the Marshall player, and he immediately stopped the clock. He's not putting up with anything right now.
No, he's been very
no
strict
nonsense.
to it. Yes, absolutely.
To your point, is that what the Eagles needed? You talked about it earlier, the confidence that can possess in this sport. Is that what this Eagles team needed to really push itself on? Ball towards the end line, and Porter crosses. Or is that Riley McKinney? Excuse me, that was. And it'll be a goal kick now for Georgia Southern. Substitution comes on. Meredith Pugh comes out. Aaron Wilkins comes back on. So Pugh, the midfielder, off. Wilkins, the defender, back on. And you're going to see a little bit more defense now from this Georgia Southern side. Marshall's really going to have to push forward. And I will say, the second time in as many matches on this pitch that you've seen a slip lead to a goal on the broadcast right side of the field. We saw the exact same thing happen in the men's match on Friday. Tiago Apolinario went down for the men's team, which led to a James Madison goal on Friday as well. Georgia Southern pushing forward far side. Ball rolls across the touchline and creates a throw now for the Thundering Herd. Far side throw for Marshall. Ball sent in. Fisher trying to get there, tries to keep possession. Marshall can't do so. And it'll be a Georgia Southern throw now with 22 minutes to go in the match. As you see, Ainsley Crenshaw will check back on for Ellie McIntyre. Crenshaw comes on. She started in all 12 matches now this season. She started in the first 11, making her 12th start tonight. Ball thrown in, bouncing around the back. Kaisa Ekstrom will clear it. And it'll be a throw for Marshall far side. Went off of a Georgia Southern player. (1-0) Georgia Southern with the advantage. Taking advantage of a slipping Marshall player along the back. And Smith Kathy, with the caliber of player that she is, not going to miss that opportunity. Georgia Southern, give them credit on that goal. Very patient, not forcing a shot. Gets it to the feet of Kathy, who's able to put it in, and right past Wohlgemuth. Wolgamuth up ahead, ball out of the air, bouncing around. Comer now. Ball at her feet, plays it towards the middle, but it's turned over to Marshall. There's Komori. Komori, one touch. Marshall continues to keep possession. Ball played in the middle for Porter, and Katie Porter making a run, but it's cleared away by Wilkins. Wilkins read that pass, stepped in front of Porter, and didn't allow her to progress forward, excuse me. Ball thrown in, Hurd far side. Ball's crossed and off of a defender. Creates a corner kick now for Marshall. Fourth corner of the match for the Herd. And a big opportunity here with 20 minutes and 10 seconds to go. Leah Mish will take the corner for Marshall. Players jockeying for position. Mish sends it in, low line drive. Ball hit high in the air. I think that went off of Ekstrom. And it'll bounce onto the top of the net. I think that was Kaisa Ekstrom that got her foot on it. And that'll bring us to a hydration break. 1-0, Georgia Southern with the lead. 19:46 to go in the match. Marshall looking for the equalizer. We'll be back with more Sunbelt Women's Soccer on ESPN+.
Who says that business isn't personal? That what we do should be separate from who we are? At Encova Insurance, we do things differently. Our agents partner with small businesses to get to the heart of what matters. Because we're in the peace of mind business, and we take that very personally with auto, home, and business insurance. At Encova, we're ready for what's next.
Welcome back to Hoops Family Field, Veterans Memorial Soccer Complex. Bobby Iddings joined alongside by Ryan Epling as Georgia Southern has the lead over Marshall 1-0. Just a few moments ago, a slip by the Marshall back line gives the ball to Smith Cathy for Georgia Southern, who then slots one past Alexis Wolgamuth. And that's where we are right now. Coming out of a hydration break, 19:46 to go in the match. Statistically, pretty even. 5 shots, 2 on goal for Marshall. 4 shots, 3 on goal for Georgia Southern. 4 corners for Marshall, 2 corners for Georgia Southern. Marshall, though, 9 fouls to just 2 for the Eagles. Ball headed out of the air. Played forward now. Bree Conley on the attack, and Wolgamuth well off her line, clears it near side. And it'll create a throw for Georgia Southern now. Eagles trying to be patient as the ball comes up towards the press box within about a row of us up here, the WMUL crew to our right. The hands team was there if needed. Ball rolls all the way down across the inline. And now if you're Marshall tactically, Ryan, you know, we see this every game for Marshall where you take those left and right backs and you're really pushing them forward. I think you're going to start seeing probably the midfield play a little bit higher. Potentially you see Chavez as well as Ekstrom start making runs, the 2 center backs too. Wouldn't be surprised if Angel Fowler at some point trying to get her back into the match too. Just with the height that she possesses potentially on a corner kick.
Yeah, there's still plenty of time left in the match, so you don't have to go into kind of a desperation type of approach just yet. You can still try to play your game to this point, but to your point, Georgia Southern also playing a lot deeper, a lot further back on the ball when Marshall had it in its own box there. So, you know, Georgia Southern not applying the amount of pressure while the ball is not in their attacking half.
McKinney plays a far side McComas. Here's kind of what we're talking about, that right back when McComas making a run. Now the Herd gets it to the feet of Compton. Compton, a very high effort player, high work rate. Ball into the middle, deflected away by Georgia Southern. And that's kind of the point there. Georgia Southern was dropping 2 players back into the center, playing a lot lower than what they were earlier, and really hurts the Marshall effort there. Marshall has 2 players combined near side. That's Towns and Porter. Towns keeps possession, though. Towns into the middle for Kamori. Kamori has a player running on. Instead, just plays it outside Porter. Porter tries to chip it past the back line over the head of Fisher. Flag went up anyway on the far side, creating the offsides against the Herd. And that'll be a free kick now for the Eagles.
Marshall was, that was kind of one of those balls maybe you don't play it early in the match, but in this situation, you go ahead and take the opportunity, and there really wasn't much of a chance for Marshall to do anything with it there.
Wolgamuth diving off the line, really no threat there. I think just wanted to make sure she got to that one. Picks it up, and then with 16:45 to go, the junior from Lincolnton, North Carolina will try and slowly start it up for Marshall. Wolgamuth making her 9th start in 10 matches this year for Marshall. Ball bouncing around off the foot of Extra. Marshall just trying to string a couple things together here. Now Wolgamuth has it on her feet at the top of the 6. And what's so important on that, the back line there, when Marshall starts its passing succession, what makes it good is if a pass is supposed to be on the right foot, it's at the right foot. If it's supposed to hit the left foot, it's on the left foot. That's when this offense works so free and fluid. And that's what we've seen at times from the men's side when it's going well as well. Ball taken away by Zovko. Zovko to Conley. And now Marshall trying to just get there and sent high into the air by Towns. Fisher clips a defender. That was Crenshaw. No foul is called. Zovko near side. Zovko tries to cross over Towns and does. Zovko sends it into the box, and it's headed away by Mish. Now Marshall the other way.
Good patience from Zovko on that cross, too. Didn't rush anything. Ended up not being necessarily the quality that she was looking for, but still, what a job of stopping on a dime and making an effort into the box.
There's Zovko involved again, trying to take it away from Porter, but can't do so. You can definitely see the high work rate from both of these sides today, and that's kind of what Chris Adams was talking about. He mentioned the fact that this is a team, he has to have hard workers. If he doesn't have hard workers, he really doesn't want you in his program. And you've seen the hard work, because it's been a test today. It's kind of been a weird match, as we talked about. This Georgia Southern side has just played to a very, very high standard in this match, too.
You know, there's something you cannot measure in a team, and it's really, it doesn't show up anywhere but visually, grit. Both teams have been very gritty here today, and honestly, I felt like both have kind of taken some good shots from one another and been able to deflect them away. But so far, the difference in the match is just a slip.
Yep.
And that's all it takes.
Lecky, Travasos, and Meto back on for Marshall. Compton, McKinney, and Porter will come out. Ball thrown in. And one back by Georgia Southern. Right into the hands of Rafa Samoys. Creates a throw now for the Herd. Towns, Mish. Back to Towns. Back to Mish. Little two-man game. Ekstrom plays the ball up ahead, looking for, I think, Lecky. I think it was a slightly deflected as Georgia Southern clears it up to Bree Conley. Far side now to Smith Cathy making a run. Smith Cathy towards the top of the 18, looking into Conley, played on to Zovko right on the doorstep, and Zovko right near the top of the 6. One touch, but just sends it north of the net. as she had a great run by Zavko over Wolgamuth and over the net as well, creating the goal kick.
Well-timed run by Zobko, stayed onside, didn't break until the ball was played through, and that was very close. That was a strong shot too off the boot, but just a little bit high. It would have taken a Herculean effort from Wolgamuth to be able to save that, to knock it down, or to at least get a hand on it, and her catching a break. See the between the legs dribble there. A little basketball coming from Wolgamuth as well.
13 and a half minutes left, and now our official coming near side to have a look at something. To be quite honest, not 100% sure. My only guess is, are they reviewing? Is it? Oh, they're going to check and see the time that should be on the clock. Just coming to check and make sure the amount of time that should be left. 13 and a half minutes left. We mentioned we thought we may see Angel Fowler come back on. She has. She came back on for Kaisa Ekstrom. Fowler, even from that back line, she's valuable to Marshall at 5'5". She's pretty solid when it comes to set pieces in the box. So if Marshall can create a set piece, she's pretty valuable down there. But also, so is Kaisa Ekstrom, who she came on for at 5'10". So got to think strategically. There's a reason Rafa Samoy's brought Angel Fowler back on in the match. It's been a little bit of a rotation of players today for Marshall. As again, our official goes back under the hood. See what he can figure out.
If you've been following Marshall athletics as a whole, and I fully understand that we will have quite a few Georgia Southern people with us today. And Marshall, Georgia Southern will play football next Saturday night in Statesboro on ESPNU. But during the Marshall Western Michigan football game last week, we had the officials lose track of what down it was and stop play for nearly 10 minutes to figure out what down it was. This is not that level of a situation.
The official goes to check it out. Rotating cast of characters today for Marshall, and this is a pretty deep team. You look at what it's had to deal with two of your preseason attackers, with both Alyssa Harden and Nicole Navarro. Those were two players you thought you'd have at the top of this formation, out for the season with injury. So that was just something that really kind of caught Rafa Samoy's off guard at the beginning of the year. And now you've just seen a rotation towards the top there, where you've had Ebony Leckie, Eladi Meto, you've seen Carolina Falcao at times. You've just seen Riley McKinney towards the top. You've seen Ami Kamori at the top of the formation. Travasos will make her way up now as you kind of get a look at what Marshall's going to do formationally. They've got 4 towards the top of the formation with Fisher, Leckie, Kamori, as well as Travasos. Whenever play starts back up, once we figure out how much time is left on the clock. And again, the question becomes, how do you come out of a break like this? You got multiple players just kind of standing around on their heels. It's difficult to just immediately come back out and be ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, this is certainly interesting as we get into the home stretch of what is, again, don't want to belabor the point, but I stand by it. This is a key matchup for both these teams right now at this point in the season, and I believe we've got our official decision.
So 13:01 left.
And that's significant. That ended up being 48 seconds, so likely had to use the stopwatch to figure that one out too. So you understand why that took a little bit longer.
You understand why it took. You understand why it took as long as it did. I was a journalism major, by the way. Nonetheless.
English is hard.
Now Marshall will start from inside of its own 18. Second time this weekend a Marshall soccer team has been down and been looking to equalize to just try and get back at least to a tied state, as Meto collides far side with a Georgia Southern defender. And that creates a Georgia Southern free kick. Meto crashing in that time again with Olivia Golden. Ball up ahead, off of Conley. Marshall trying to win it back, and the Herd will do so. As now this is where Marshall's just got to start building towards its attacking third, and it's really got to string passes together. Chavez up ahead, gets it for Fisher. Fisher crossing towards the middle of the pitch, tries to chip it beyond and will. Marshall trying to go on the attack. Lecky can't quite get there. And it's cleared away, and now Marshall will work it all the way back to the feet of Wolgemuth. 6 shots, 2 on goal for the Herd, 5 and 3 on the other side for Georgia Southern. But the one tally that matters is the goals, and Smith Cathy was able to get her 5th of the year. Leading scorer on the team for Georgia Southern. High bouncing ball right towards the middle of the pitch, and Kamori runs it down for Marshall. Travasos, middle of the pitch now. Gets it to Madison Towns. Marshall trying to find the equalizer. Towns, top of the 18. Towns around a defender. Towns, left foot, puts it towards frame and off the left side of the net. Towns goes down in dismay, and the official will stop the clock again. As the ball got away, and I think they're collecting the ball as you see Towns' shot go off the left side. Clock stops with 11:07 to go, and a substitution coming on. We mentioned Bree Conley just not 100%. She'll come off. Faith Phillips, the grad transfer from UAB, will come on for Georgia Southern. She spent 1 year at UAB, now her 4th year at Georgia Southern for Faith Phillips.
Yeah, going back on that last attack from Towns, maybe one touch too deep. Cut off her own angle, but that's also good defending. She made the play she had to make. She gave the effort she was able to give and just missed a little wide.
Former Marshall coach Michael Swan said Madison Towns was really one of the best people he had ever been around. He really liked kind of the attitude and the leadership that she brought to this team. Far side, Meto trying to get around Golden, and great defending by Olivia Golden again. You can see why she and Claire Casey were specifically pointed out by Chris Adams when I had a conversation with him on Friday.
If I was a basketball coach in Peachtree City, Georgia, Olivia Golden would be my leading rebounder. She gets position, boxes out effectively, efficiently, and legally, and does a fantastic job. She's done it multiple times today. Moves her feet well.
Fowler plays it out for Meto. Meto deflects it off of her. Meto plays it into the box. Nobody home. Tried to be cleared away now by Georgia Southern, and that is just tremendous hustle on the far side. Again, was that Golden again who got to it? Nope. Excuse me, it was Ainsley Crenshaw, but nonetheless, tremendous effort. Ball played back to Meto. Meto offside. And it creates a free kick now for Georgia Southern. But you go back, Crenshaw that time, great job hustling towards the corner to eliminate the possibility of a corner for Marshall and instead make it a more difficult throw.
Yes, and those little things matter because it's much easier to score off of a corner kick than a throw in from the corner. Also, that back line for Georgia Southern, multiple offside calls now against Marshall, kind of deeper than what you would think. That back line is playing high with purpose and intent, and trying to make Marshall play through it won't allow Marshall to play over it, to play too deep in.
Marshall, one touch to Kamori. Kamori trying to get around a defender. Zavko there defensively steps up this time. Wolgemuth going to try and run it down, but that again, that's just the IQ right now with which Georgia Southern is playing is very high. You can tell defensively, the far side, just where that throw is created for Marshall, and their official making Marshall go all the way back to the spot. That's just a very difficult, deep spot for a throw-in for the Herd. Ball up ahead, Meto trying to get to it, can't. It'll create another throw for the Herd. Down to 8 minutes to play in the match. Marshall trailing 1-0. Again, Georgia Southern 0-7 in one-goal matches this season. Now, odds say eventually the tide's going to turn in your favor. Marshall hoping that's not today, but Chris Adams is just really hoping for something to go right for his team in the last 8 minutes and just hoping to hang on to this one, if not add another. Ball played in, cleared away by Borgelt. Across the far touchline, thrown out for the Herd.
A Marshall side that has struggled to score this year. The attack has been pretty good. It's been quality enough to in many matches find the net at least once. Has not done so, at least to this point today. But you just need that one moment. You're playing for that one moment, that one ball, and one opportunity to find the back of the net.
Ball played all the way back now for Wolgemuth. And now some fresh legs for Georgia Southern towards the top, pressing this Marshall back line. As Ellie McIntyre had gone off earlier. Same thing with Faith Phillips as she just came back on a few moments ago. Ball headed into the middle. Some jockeying for position. Meto goes down. Pounds the turf in frustration. And Georgia Southern goes the other way. Far side. Kylie Drew, or that's Smith Caffey, takes the shot. And lying down to her right on top of the ball is Wolgemuth. As Smith Caffey again through two defenders created an opportunity on the counterattack. And that's what Marshall's going to be susceptible to right now with pushing as many forward as it is.
You hold your breath every time Smith Caffey lets one loose. She's a quality goal scorer and just about had an opportunity for another one.
Ball played up ahead, headed out by Wilkins. Near side with 5:55 to play. And it'll be a throw for the Thundering Herd. Ball up ahead for Fisher. Fisher deadens the ball with the right foot. Cuts inside of her defender. Getting pulled on by Wilkins. And Georgia Southern clears it near side. Substitution will come on for Marshall. Kaisa Ekstrom will come back on.
Number 2, Kaisa Ekstrom entering for Marshall.
Ekstrom will come on for Brooklyn McComas.
Clock does not stop when the trailing team subs late in the second half.
Madison Towns will get set to take the throw for Marshall. Towns in for Fisher, back to Towns. Again, Marshall just trying to put passes together. Herd's got one touch, two touch, but then that third touch just isn't really there right now for Marshall. And credit that to Georgia Southern. 4:44 to go in the match. Again, a Georgia Southern team won the Sun Belt East Division last year. All the way into the hands of Wolgemuth. Quick restart, comes Fowler near side, and then Fowler nearly loses possession. Fowler plays it off of Phillips, and it'll be a throw for the Herd. You know, the rhythmic drum beating in the background here at Veterans Memorial Soccer Complex. Beautiful day. 3:53 to go. Marshall trailing 1-0. Far side, Smith Caffey. Dribbling towards the corner, and she's just going to kind of bury herself in that corner, really make it hard for Marshall. But instead, Kamori comes away with it. And now Meto has some room, and Meto's going to take a couple touches towards the middle of the pitch. Still possessing and plays it near side now for Fowler. Fowler, one, just missed touch that time, and Zovko takes it away. Now Georgia Southern again, just going deep into the corner. Faith Phillips is just going to dribble it to that far corner. And this is gamesmanship as much as anything else. because if nothing else, she tried to play it off of Fowler. And if she could have played it off Fowler, it creates a corner kick for Georgia Southern. Even if Marshall sends it off of Georgia Southern, it creates just a really difficult opportunity for the Herd. Ekstrom up ahead. Ball deflected away by Georgia Southern. Free kick now for the Herd with 2:45. And the Eagles sent the ball away afterwards. And they haven't stopped the clock yet, and Ross Holland sends it back towards the middle of the pitch. Handball was the call there. As now Leah Mish will set up for the free kick with 2:20 to go. Mish sends it into the box. Brought out of the air by Lecky. Lecky just cannot keep the ball possessed at her feet. Loses it, and it's cleared out far side by Phillips. Marshall plays it in. Leah Mish trying to line it up. Crosses into the box. There's Bailey Fisher. Can't get the touch on it. Ball rolling around. Really the deepest possession Marshall had today at the top of the sixth, and lands in the hands of Wilson. Fisher was there, and so was Lecky, and neither really could get a quality touch. Ball sent deep into the attacking third now for Georgia Southern. Back to Wolgamuth. Tussling for position was Phillips and Ekstrom. And now Wolgamuth will pick it up and send it down the field. Ball out of the air into the feet of Kamori with 80 seconds left. Frenetic last few minutes here. Ball off the head of Lecky, cleared by Zavko. Now the Herd runs it down. Wolgamuth clears it ahead. 1 minute to play. Georgia Southern really packing it in, and it's defending third. Angel Fowler, and a foul called, and a late call on Angel Fowler for a handball as the flag came up near side. 40 seconds to play, and now Georgia Southern really going to take its time. You get a look here. Fowler just trying to settle it, and it bounced off of her thigh and right off the right hand. 30 seconds left. Ball sent towards the corner, and it's going to go all the way across the end line. Going to make it really difficult on Marshall with 18 seconds left. Wolgamuth's going to set it up 15. Wolgamuth's going to send it as far downfield as she can with 10 left. Ball up ahead, out of the air by Smith Cathy, and that's going to do it. The final 4 seconds will roll off the clock. Georgia Southern will get its first victory in 1-goal matches this year. The Eagles will improve to 5-7-1, 2-2 in conference play. Marshall falls to 3-5-2, 1-2-1 in conference play. First loss at home this season for Marshall. The Thundering Herd had opportunities, couldn't get that last quality touch at the 6-yard box, Ryan.
Very highly competitive match. Marshall early on had chances, could not cash in early in the second half. Had a couple of chances, could not cash in. I credit Georgia Southern with the ability to thwart those Herd attacks, and then the Eagles get one good look the entire match. It comes after a slip from a Marshall defender, and they take advantage. That's what good teams do. This was a very competitive match. I think both sides can leave here feeling that they played a quality level of play today. Georgia Southern gets out with 3 points in the win. Marshall has to kind of get itself back together and get ready to head to Hattiesburg later this week.
Again, our thoughts go out to all of our friends in Statesboro. We're dealing with the effects of Hurricane Helene. Our thoughts and prayers with all of them as Georgia Southern starts school back up tomorrow, October 7th. Thanks to everybody involved in the broadcast today. First and foremost, everybody involved in the sports information departments from Georgia Southern, as well as David O'Leary here at Marshall University. Big thanks to everybody involved in the broadcast, all of our team back inside the production studios. We appreciate them as well. Georgia Southern picks up the win over Marshall 1-0. For Ryan Epling, my name is Bobby Iddings. Have a great rest of your day.
Let's throw it down to the field with Coach.
Rafa, well played game today with your team. It's quite the feat. Talk to me about getting your team pumped up at halftime when it's this hot out. It's senior day. You're tied.
Why do dermatologists worldwide recommend La Roche-Posay? Effective skincare like La Roche-Posay Double Repair Face Moisturizer delivers double action to help repair skin's barrier and provide 48-hour hydration for healthy-looking skin. La Roche-Posay.
Here you go, buddy.
Thanks, Dad.
My dad taught me to seek adventure, to respect nature.
Wow. Almost there.
To love it.
It's beautiful.
Do you love it? And now I want to protect it for my son and the next generation. That's why I got a Subaru EV.
Wait for me.
The Subaru Solterra, powered by love. Get great low-rate finance or lease offers on select new 2024 Solterra EV models going on now.
You can run. You can scream. You can hide. But the chance to win could find you. The countdown is on to the biggest, spookiest day of the year. Get your West Virginia Lottery scratch-offs today for the chance to win. Escapes. Please play responsibly.
Oh, whose is this?
I wanted a house. She did too.
Pizza. What did you break?
I knew I couldn't do it on my own. Food's here. Right. So we thought, why not go all in together? Okay. That's when buying a home together got real. That was my good face, wasn't it?
NHL on ESPN Plus is back. Enjoy 1,000+ out-of-market games and so much more. That's hockey on ESPN Plus. Sign up today.
This time I used help. My use that used help. And it's in! Historic goal! I love this game. It's so hard. The one you never ever knew about. I'm on the next level now. Robert! What a strike!
It's so on.
Left